All right. Well, welcome to this Thursday, August 15th edition of Keystroke Live. My name is Dave Hunsinger, and I'm going to be talking about the accounting link today. I am going to go ahead and mute everybody. And if you have a question, I'll unmute at the end, and you can ask it, or there is the chat, and hopefully Nick will keep an eye on it so that I don't forget about it as I'm going here. Remember, Keystroke Live every Thursday, 9 a.m. Even if you don't get an invitation, it's the same login information every Thursday. And Nick is good enough to post the recordings on YouTube, so you can go there and catch up on any ones you've missed. We're going to talk about the accounting link today, formerly called the General Ledger link. It's part of Keystroke Advanced POS. It's something every customer can use. I always think of Keystroke, or when I have an acquaintance say, what do you do? I'm like, well, we do point of sale software. It's kind of front end accounting. QuickBooks or BusinessWorks might be your back end accounting, but Keystroke is what is there in the front. So it's part of your accounting, but it's kind of the customer-facing, what clerks use every day, whereas your general ledger, accounts payable, and payroll is more of your back-office accounting that isn't necessarily out in use every day. We can post to a variety of accounting softwares. The most popular are QuickBooks, Peachtree, and BusinessWorks, but we can also do some general formats if a client is using an accountant that's using a big general ledger accounting system. It transfers sales and receivables data to the general ledger. There is a little bit of closeout and purchase data. You can also transfer, as well as store transfer information you can post to the general ledger. Creates a file or report, and that's kind of a big thing, that the accounting link isn't doing anything magic. It's basically a really nice report on your accounting, everything consolidated into one report. You can just run a report and give it to your accountant if you want to. It's a specialized format. So for QuickBooks, it creates a IIF file and Intuit import format. It's basically a specially laid out tab delimited file that gets easily imported into QuickBooks. Same thing with Peachtree and BusinessWorks. We've just looked at their formats and created the file format that's easy for them to import. Why do we create this file and then import it? Well, with BusinessWorks, Peachtree, and QuickBooks, when you import it, it checks that every account exists, and that doing the dual entry accounting, that everything balances, so that you've got both accounts you're posting to and you don't have any stray entries. So through that import format, we know we're getting everything right. You can also run it from a command line or batch file if you want to run it every day as well. So with that, I am going to go into Keystroke. And I've got our Colorado blue theme going here. So just to kind of give you a taste of our different appearance settings in the configuration manager, and extra large menu icons. Just hopefully that makes everything a little bit easier to see. So I am in the accounting link here. It says in the bottom right corner where you are in Keystroke. Easy way to always check what's going on, and then set up. First thing is link to. I've got it set to report, but you see there's a variety of softwares there. Some of them are legacy software, Sima, ACPAC. I think ACPAC is owned by Sage now, but the Sage BusinessWorks, Peachtree by Sage, and QuickBooks Windows are the most popular links. I'm going to stick with report here for what we're doing. And then you have some parameters. This will be different. Like if I go to, if I say link to QuickBooks for Windows here, I'll just move down the list. when I select parameters, it's going to ask me where my data directory is. Well, actually, it's the directory where I am posting this file to. The file name, Keystroke IIF, that's that Intuit import format. The class is something we've added if you're doing store transfers with QuickBooks. You can put the store in there because of the way QuickBooks, it's kind of different how it handles accounts and sub-accounts. That class can be tagged on as the different store. And then there's always a detail. And this is kind of how a client would want to do it. I think in Keystroke, you've got all the detail. You can run reports on payments and sales and inventory items. If you're posting detail over to your accounting software, it's not necessarily always detail you need. Now, some people may have valid reasons for doing that, but I really think summary by day or totals is the way you can go. Depending on how and when you post, you can do it a variety of different ways. Some people post every day, in which case detailed or invoice summary you might want to do. Some people post once a week and then summary by day, so you would get 7 entries, 1 for each day, posted to your general ledger. Or here at SBS, we post once a month and we just do totals. So we get 1 entry for June, 1 entry for July in each account. So you can do different things. I'm going to leave it on summary by day here. But you do have the detail in Keystroke, and you're reproducing a lot of and creating a lot of journal entries if you're doing detail or invoice summary. And then suppress zeros. Some accountants like, if you're doing summary by day, to know, hey, here's a 0 entry. I know I had no order deposits for Monday, the 5th of August. And so you get a 0 in there. You know, I'd say suppress zeros, then you make a whole lot less journal entries. The update the lock date, remember, it's a very important thing about the accounting link is when you've posted over to the general ledger of an accounting software, now you have your data in 2 different places. You've got 1 copy in Keystroke, 1 copy in, say, QuickBooks, if that's where you posted to. When you update that lock date, that's saying, I'm not going to change it in Keystroke, because if I go back 2 months and make a change on a sale, that's not going to get transferred over to QuickBooks, because when I post, I'm posting for the current day or the current week. So by updating that lock date, you're saying I'm not changing it in Keystroke, so it will agree with what I have in QuickBooks. That's not to say you can't change it in Keystroke. You can always go change the lock date, make a change, but then you're thinking about it and doing it consciously so that you know to go back to QuickBooks and say, okay, I need to make that parallel change so that my numbers agree. So you can make changes, you just have to be more conscious about it. So I recommend putting on that update lock date. Then you can use distributed class and how you're handling closeout over short if you're doing all registers or not. Then we have the posting accounts. QuickBooks uses account names. BusinessWorks, other software will use account numbers. I have names in here just because it makes it a lot easier to look at. We talk to a lot of people on the phone that are having problems, and a lot of times that stems from not having an account in one of these categories. Like, well, I never do paid outs, so I just left that blank. Well, some days something strange happened and somebody did a paid out and it doesn't know. It's trying to post it to a blank account, so your GL link won't, or your accounting link won't work because it's not balancing, because it's saying, hey, I've got $10 of cash going out, but I don't have a balancing entry to make into a paid outs account. So you want to be sure that you've got something in every one of these, even if it's just a catch-all account that is 9,000 or miscellaneous posting or something, so that you know, okay, if something came in there, something strange happened, so I'm catching it, I'm not missing it. So you do want to have something in here. The couple of little caveats in Keystroke, especially when you're using QuickBooks, is sales tax and accounts receivable, which is credit payment types, cannot be posted into QuickBooks into the sales tax or accounts receivable accounts. For some reason, they've said, hey, you can only generate those entries within QuickBooks. You need to post it to another account. So for sales tax, you need I think they call it other current liabilities account, and call it KS or Keystroke tax payable. And same thing with receivables, rather than an other current asset account or rather than accounts receivable, you set up another current asset account that's Keystroke accounts receivable. So that's the little trick with QuickBooks there, and it is pretty well described in our help screen as well. Now, if you look at the, say, inventory account I have going to inventory, so that's the inventory value of all my inventory items get posted in there. If I want to break that out, I can. I'm just going to select OK here and then go to set up an inventory departments. So here, let's say I have liquor going to, and I can hit tab just to move over there and change it, liquor inventory. So this can get posted to a sub-account of inventory that's liquor inventory. So in my GL, I can say, okay, I've got this much in soda, this much in food, this much in liquor. That way you can break things out by department in your accounting software. If you want to break it out item by item, I suggest you can run reports in Keystroke. All that detail is there, and you don't necessarily need to reproduce it in your accounting software. Now, if I look up here at cigarettes, it's blank. Does that mean that inventory doesn't get posted? No, it's caught, is how I think of it, by my main posting account that I just have set up as inventory. So if this is blank, it's not that it doesn't get posted, it just doesn't get posted to a separate account. It will default, and I'm just going to hit escape here, it will default back to this inventory account if I haven't specified something for that department. So if I go back and look at those inventory departments, I can post everything, or like I did for cigarettes, I just want sales broken out, everything else can go to my default. For games, I just did, if you're using BusinessWorks or other accounting software that uses numbers, you might have account numbers like this in here rather than account names that QuickBooks uses. And like with the departments, you can do the same thing with payment types. I'm going to go back to my posting accounts. So here I have credit payments going to Keystroke accounts receivable. That is, so when somebody puts something on account, goes into accounts receivable, then when it gets paid off, the payment gets put into checking, it gets pulled out of accounts receivable. So that way I can know what my current outstanding receivables are. I can also go into payment types, and I can have payments broken out. So my accounts receivable adjustments, I'm maybe going to go to a bad debt account, so I know, okay, I can go into my accounting software and deal with that. Discover, well, it takes an extra day, not anymore, but it used to take an extra day to settle. American Express might be that way. So I want to put it in a holding account, and then when I know it hits the bank, I'm going to move it from that holding account to another account. You might want to break out your receivables. You might have 3 payment types, a due upon receipt, net 10, and net 30. And so you could break those out in your accounting software so you kind of know, okay, these are coming in soon. These are going to be coming in a little later. So you can break those payment types out. The payment's not listed here. It gets caught by those default account types set up under posting accounts. The other thing we've added is this print current settings. I can hit that, and it pops up a little report just saying what all your posting accounts are. This is, you can take it to your accountant and they can say, oh yeah, these are the right accounts, the wrong accounts. If you're double checking between Keystroke and your accounting software, it's nice to have. It's also good to print this and then stick it in a file somewhere, so if something goes wrong, you can pull that out and double check on what has changed. So now we're all set up, and let me make sure I'm going to go back to link to report and make sure my parameters, I'm going to the screen, and I am going to summarize by day. So now I can just say link sales and AR, and this is my tutor data, so I'm going to do it from the beginning of the year, and it pops up my report here. Now, if I go to my first page, you get a look here like on the 23rd of January, I have invoices 14 through 18. So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I've got sales, but then I've got it also broken out into my liquor sales and my 4,000 sales. I think that was DVDs. And then sales tax payable, and then my payments. Some went to checking, some went to receivables, and some went to deposits. My inventory and cost of goods sold, liquor inventory, cost of goods sold, and promo inventory and cost of goods sold. So it broke everything out for that 23rd into those journal entries that would get posted into QuickBooks or BusinessWorks, and those would be the amounts. And when people are setting up Accounting Link, you can always, before you post, you can run this report and say, okay, yeah, this looks good, this looks right. Here's everything that's posted for the year. Hey, there's this stray account and bad debt. What's that? I might want to go look at it before I post. So it's kind of a good exercise, especially if you're just getting someone set up. The first few times you can do this, and it gives them some confidence on what they are actually posting. So this was summary by day, and just to get a feel for it, if I close this and go into my setup and parameters and change it to detailed, so that was a 3-page report. When I link sales AR and do it from the beginning of the year, I end up, and I didn't have a ton, but if I go back to the first, you see on the 23rd, where I had quite a few invoices, I've got a lot more journal entries because I have journal entries for each individual invoice. Now, if you want that, you can do it. It's just going to create a lot more information in your accounting software. And on the other hand, if you want to go with just the totals, it makes a nice, simple report. Just going to do it from the beginning of the year again. And if you see there, I'm just getting one page, one entry for each of the accounts, exactly the same as that end of my 3-page report. It's just all summarized right there. You can also link, oh, and I don't have it set up here. You can link store transfer data, and that'll take the GL link setup out of each store and actually create entries in your accounting software saying that went from store 3 to store 1, it went from the main store to store 2. It'll adjust the inventory there for you if you want to do that in StoreLink. So that is my overview information about Accounting Link. It's again something everybody has to do accounting. It's something that everybody could use, even if they're just running the report, so that they can take a look at what their journal entries would be rather than running a sales report and a cost report and a purchases report. It's all summarized nice and neat on one item. It's pretty easy to do. The most difficult part of it is right here, getting these accounts right with what you have in your general ledger software so that everything gets into the right account. Once you do it, it works the same. It works great every week, month, however often you post. As I say, retailers love a rut. They love something, how they know it's going to work. It'll work that way every time. And they take a lot of comfort in that and are able to go work in their business rather than worrying about what's getting posted into their general ledger. I am going to go ahead and unmute everyone. And are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question. On the parameters, you had one that said invoice detail. What does the invoice detail, what does it bring over in the invoice detail in that setting?
Well, what it doesn't bring over, so that's in the parameters right here. Oh, not print to screen. Under detail, I can do detailed or invoice summary. The detailed actually brings, there's journal entries for each item on the invoice, and I don't have a whole lot of complicated invoices. So it's basically invoice by invoice detail. Okay. So it's the most detail you can get. So you may have multiple entries for the same account on an individual invoice. Whereas if you do invoice summary, you're going to get one entry into each account for each invoice.
Okay.
They're both pretty detailed. It's just you get a little more with the detailed.
Okay.
And it might be if somebody wants that and they're doing invoices that have 50 line items, that's when maybe you do the detailed. Any other questions, comments, experiences with Accounting Link? Is this thing on?
We're here.
Okay.
Hey, this is Mike. I'm just going to say I've done this a few times. Don't know anything about accounting, but done it a few times, and once it's set up, it works. It just never fails.
And Mike, I am in the same boat as you. I know my accounting knowledge ends at about what I've said today, so I don't know a lot more than that. It does do some of the purchase data so that you can balance a check you're cutting in accounts payable with the purchases you made in Keystroke. So it's not completely handling the accounts payable, but it is getting the information over so you can balance with your payments.
If you distribute the freight in Keystroke, then when it comes over, it's going to put all in just one account. It's not going to put part of it in inventory and part of it in freight, correct?
Exactly. And
okay.
It's really something, I think, accounting practices in the U.S., you are not supposed to do that, but we have people in Puerto Rico and Guam where they want to figure that freight or the drayage or whatever as part of their cost. And officially the IRS says you're not supposed to do that, but we put that in there to do it. And that's where I'm no expert. Talking to a accounting professional is the best way to determine if that's a good thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, next week we have the production module with Lynn. So 9 a.m. next Thursday, be sure to be there. We're kind of covering some of these add-on modules we didn't in Las Vegas, but to give you a feel for some of the things you can do with Keystroke, but the Accounting Link, it's easy to set up and something everybody can use. So thank you for coming today, and have a great Thursday and even better weekend.
Thanks, Dave. Good day.